will be given the opportunity to speak. Okay, I see Emmanuel Fagbule and Kelvin. I see Gloria also. Okay, I will be giving Emmanuel Fagbule the opportunity to speak now. Yes, please share with us what you have learned since the start of this program.
Yeah, all protocols duly observed. One of my keynotes from last session was the relevance of hydropower in propelling alternative source of energy and in the renewable space. And it's just only solar power that could be considered as a renewable energy. The hydropower component as well. And then in addition to that, I also realized that the hydropower utilization is based on in-country specific regulations. So these were my key take notes from the previous sessions.
Yes, thank you very much. If I can get that right, I think what you're trying to point at is the fact that you have learned not to see only the solar energy as the only renewable energy that we have, but instead you have been open to different other and diverse others that we have, which are also sustainable energy that we have. Of course, that's a beautiful one. It shows your level of intentionality and how far you're following up with what we are learning. Yes, I want to allow Gloria to speak now. Gloria, yes, you can unmute your mic and speak now.
Hello, everyone. One of my major takeaways so far is renewable energy is not actually clean energy. It's not automatic that whichever renewable energy we have is actually clean energy. And I also so far have the different kinds of renewable energy, where there is wave energy, or you can call it the tidal, the hydro energy, the biomass energy, the solar, geothermal, and wind energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Of course, we have to argue with diverse opinions when it comes to the perception about the renewable energy. And of course, I agree with you that many are not totally clean energy, but of course, I think in the direction of trying to transition away from fossil fuel, we still have some other alternative considered cleaner to fossil fuel. That's fantastic. I think I can still see another hand there, Ola Oluwakiton. Thank you very much, Gloria. Let's allow Ola Oluwakiton to speak now.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I think amongst the many things other people have said was the concept of energy security, which Engineer Inye brought on board, which means that having enough energy to meet today's need and future needs, and eradicating the harm it can cause to the people, the planet, and joint prosperity. So for me, was looking at renewable not just because we just want to, but we must always make sure that whatever we are planning must be able to solve the energy crisis so that we have energy security. So for me, that was a key take home amongst the many things you said about different sources of energy. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. And I love that your take home, because while we're trying to look at the different options that we have before us, I think one of the key things and the key area that we have to be concerned about is not just the availability of the energy, but how do we secure the energy? How do we use it efficiently? What methods are we using in saving the energy so that the various sources and where it's coming from can be sustainable enough for use now and for the future generations and all. That's a good one. Let's hear from Kevin Mino. Kevin, you can unmute your mic and speak now.
Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Minor from Kenya. My take home from last week's presentation is about the energy and the types of energy is that there are different types of energy sources that include hydro energy. We have the solar energy, the wind energy, the biomass energy, and from all these types of energies, what solutions we are supposed to get for the purposes of accessibility is an energy that is cost effective and scalable. And we realize that when we talk about maybe hydro energy, sometimes we were told that hydro energy is quite costly and less scalable compared to something like solar. And if you are a young innovator, maybe you have to think from that direction so that strategically you can be able to create efficiency and effectiveness in the energy sector by choosing the best option of energy from where you are located. So that was my take home, which is we do it as a cost benefit analysis in terms of how you want, which type of energy you want to invest in. Thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, I agree with you. Thank you very much. I think it is very important that we understand our environment. We should look at the potentials that we have around us, such that we are able to utilize the resources that we have around us instead of trying to look beyond and bringing in other solutions. And we also have to consider the cost effectiveness of whatever type and source of energy that we are adopting, so that at the end of the day, it is the kind of energy that is affordable for the people which it has been directed to, and not just even only affordable sometimes, but we will have it to be, we have to ensure its availability at all times and its portability at the same time. Of course, we would also be taking more views from, I think I see Leonard. So Leonard, yeah, you can speak now.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, loud and clear, Leonard.
Okay. Morning participant. Although from the explanation so far from the participant, I think we are gearing towards the same thing, meaning the lesson we've taken so far is quite understood. But since it was a visual learning, is there a way that we can get these materials on a platform that we can print and then be going through it? Do you get me, Claire?
Yes, I get you clearly, Leonard. So I think in answering that, what I want to say is that, in trying to be conservative and in our push for sustainability in everything we do, we are not really of the opinion that we adopt printing, because when you consider the environmental footprint of even printing itself, when it comes to the source for the papers which you would use, we are trying to scale down on the cutting of trees for such use, which can totally be avoided, such as printing of materials and all of that. But the only advice I think I will have to offer to you is that these meetings are always being live streamed on YouTube, so you can always visit our YouTube channel. There is always a recording of each sections on our YouTube channel. So I think it will do much better when you go on YouTube and you make screenshots of the section, so that you can revisit them on your phone. So that way, it not only saves you cost of printing, but it also saves us the environmental footprints from cutting down trees for printing uses. Does that help in any way? Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So at the end of each and every of our sections, you can always go to ADF Africa on YouTube. You would catch the recording of each and every section. All right. So right about now, I see that we've had a good learning experience, especially with regards to our very last workshop. Definitely, this is a testament to the fact that we all seem to be enjoying what we do here. And of course, we are glad to be a part of your learning experience and journey. However, it interests me to know today, and I think I want each and every one of us to make use of the chat box. What is it that you envision to learn from today's section? What are your expectations for today's section? Of course, I'm sure now that for anyone that was not on this workshop as of last week, who have had what the take homes from the section by the different participants that have been opportunity to speak this morning, you would know already that, of course, you have maybe one way or the other missed out on something good. So I'm just, curious. I want to know if we have come here with some expectations this morning. So I want you to make use of the chat now and quickly share with us what your expectations are for today's section. So in about a minute or two, I want to see in the chat what your expectations are for today's section. And why that is, someone says a more practical section. Okay, all right. Let's see how that would be. A more practical section. Okay. And while that is ongoing in the chat, I want to take this moment to quickly introduce to us our facilitator for today, who will also be doing, okay, I'm expecting to know more about mobility. Okay. Well, kindly, facilitator for today is someone who has written a lot of papers on mobility as regards sustainable energy, is someone fast in such knowledge. And yeah, that person is none other but Ayodeji Stephen. And I would briefly be reading Ayodeji Stephen's profile to us. All right. Such that you would agree with me that we have brought to you this morning a good hand to do justice to this week's workshop. So for some of you that are trying to settle in, of course, welcome you again this morning to the Sustainable Energy Accelerator program. And of course, most of the questions that have been asked in the chat would be attended to by our team who are coordinating this section. And yes, our speaker for this morning is Ayodeji Stephen, as I have said, who is with a strong focus on accelerating the switch to sustainable energy sources and lowering carbon emissions in the transportation industry. So you can see now, for that person asking about e-mobility, you see that, yes, you have done yourself a favor by attending this session this morning. Ayodeji is a committed and aspirational expert in the clean energy field. He formerly worked as a technical assistant at the International Power-to-X Hub, that's IP2X, where he was instrumental in creating and putting into practice cutting-edge strategies for generating green hydrogen and advancing electric vehicles. Ayodeji, who is presently pursuing a PhD at the Dublin City University, is investigating the possibilities of hydrogen as a way to decarbonize transport systems as part of the Nexus project. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe you want to do a kind welcome to our facilitator this morning with your emojis, so you can do well to welcome in Mr. Ayodeji Stephen with your reactions while I hand over to Mr. Ayodeji now for his presentation this morning. Mr. Ayodeji, how is it going with you? You're welcome. Yeah, I see that. I see that going on. You're welcoming him quite well. Yes, Mr. Ayodeji, can you hear us? Please, can someone confirm that they can hear me? I want to be sure that it's not my network. Oh, I see, your expectations to, oh, someone says we can hear you. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So, okay. I think Mr. Adeji should be able to
Thank you.
now.
Thank you. How do you,
Oh, fantastic. I
can you hear
think
me
we
now?
can. Yes, 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 we can hear you now. Good morning.
Okay.
I think your volume is a little low. Maybe you want to just switch it off or switch it on a bit, just a little louder.
All right. How is it now?
Okay.
Is it better now?
Okay, okay, it's quite better now.
All right. All right. So everyone, good morning. I want to say thank you for inviting me to speak on this platform. Every time I have the opportunity to speak to people, especially young people across Africa, I consider it a privilege. There is a lot that's going on, and for me to be the one speaking on particular topics, especially when it comes to privilege. Thank you. I see some of your expectations. While some of those are also tried to have conversations. Um, First off, I want to say that the reason I try to create slides is not to box me up or to, box our conversations and limit us. Just for me to have be polite in some sort of way. So I would be sharing my screen, and then all right. I believe you can see my screen now.
Yes, yes, we can see your screen, but I think the participants are complaining of finding it difficult to hear you clearly. So maybe there's still something with the audio somehow.
Oh, my voice is breaking.
Yeah, I see that as a confident comment.
Trying to think what could be the cause. Is it better now?
Yeah, let's get going with it.
All right. Apologies. I mean, I'm not sure.
It's all right.
I'm using two laptops. The reason is
Okay.
the laptop I have my presentation on. The audio just started misbehaving this morning, and
Oh,
that's why I'm using an audio on another laptop. But if you
great.
cannot hear me at any point in time, please feel free to stop me. If I say something and you could not hear me, please feel free to just bring that up. I really apologize for
Yeah,
the
there's no problem,
disturbances on my
please.
end. All right.
There's no
So
problem.
as I was saying, I said that I would want us to have conversations, just to share on possible things I know, some of the things I'm engaged with, working across Africa and Europe, also with a couple of partners in Asia and in the Americas. I hope that everyone will be able to learn something tangible from the session. And yeah, that will not leave you with some knowledge. So my name is Hayodeji. I work in the energy space, quite young. I'm fortunate to have had some of the experience that I've seen some of the projects going on. So I think one of also the privilege I've had was simply determining what I want to do in my career very early. I tend to focus. So yeah. All right. So I saw one of the things that someone said, maybe was it sustainable energy. My network is breaking. All right, give me a minute.
Oh yes, so he asked for like a minute to be able to fix the audio. So let's be patient because he's just going to be joining us back and better in like the next 1 2 minutes. So let's not panic. We have the day. Yes. I think these things it happens sometimes. I think it was my situation last week. I remember I was having a section last week, just like this morning, and everyone was so complaining about my audio, and I don't know how it happens that way these days. I don't know. I think the network is just generally bad. So let's just relax for a while, and I'm sure it's gonna be fixed. Yeah. So while we are waiting for the audio situation to be fixed, has anyone caught the topic for discussion this morning? Has anyone caught the topic at all? If you know the topic for discussion this morning, can you put it in the chat? I'm not seeing anything yet. Someone says the future of sustainable energy. Okay, okay. So that means we're quite following with every of the class. That's fantastic. I love this audience. I love this audience. Yeah, yeah, the future of renewable or sustainable energy. Okay, maybe there are even some of us who want to. Let's quickly do a thing. Let's do a thing. Do you think there's a difference between renewable energy and sustainable energy? Yeah, I think it interests me to know. Yes, if you're that person that wants to speak to that, you can do well to raise your hand. Let's prep ourselves a bit. Is there a difference between renewable energy and sustainable energy?
Hey guys,
Anybody? Oh, Emmanuel. Okay, Mr. Adeji, are you back?
can you hear me clearly now? Is it still breaking?
I think it's quite better, just a little down. Maybe you can just raise it up a bit.
All right.
Oh, fantastic. I think it's quite good now.
All right. I'm really sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Apologies.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
So
So, Ebenezer, yes, before you came back live, I was asking a question. Maybe there's anyone that wants to tell me if there's a difference between renewable energy and sustainable energy. And I think Amina Aliu had raised her hand to answer that question. So, after she answers the question, you can just proceed to your presentation.
all right.
Thank
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Great. Amina, you can speak now. Amina, even your audio is so bad. I think the network is not being friendly. And we can hear you. Okay. Let's get on with the section. Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to that later, everybody. Let's go into the presentation now, please. So, Mr. Adeji, yeah.
All right. So once again, I apologize if there is ever maybe sometimes I'm breaking. Please kindly notify me. All right. So the future of renewable sustainable energy. There is a lot going on in the world globally, and it's important that we pay attention. In the energy space, one of the key things that could really impact your career is just knowing what's happening. So I was on a an interview for a job position with a UN organization a couple of weeks ago, and one of the key questions I was asked was, how do you keep yourself aligned with trends in the renewable energy space? Luckily for me, that same organization, they have a newsletter that they release every month, and they release their newsletter just 2 days before that conversation. So I looked through the newsletter. I think I downloaded two of the documents there, and I looked through those documents. So I could remember the title of those documents. So I mentioned them, and also, some podcasts that I'm listening to, and also how often I write in the energy space, just trying to also keep people abreast as I'm keeping myself abreast of happenings in the energy space. So I think that knowledge is a very key thing when it comes to the energy sector, and how you can actually maximize this knowledge. One of my friends reached out to me yesterday about, I think she was applying for a job, and they needed her to create a scenario analysis of two energy problems. And I looked at it, and in less than 3 minutes, I was able to think of a scenario analysis to solve those two challenges. So it means that, sometimes with knowledge, you're able to solve things faster. So what do people pay you for? In the energy space, sometimes you see consultant earning, say maybe on a project, $50,000, and maybe say 3 months, 2 months project, or a month project, and and you are wondering why are they earning so much? Because over the time they have been able to build a track knowledge, a track of they having high amount of knowledge, relevant, keeping themselves relevant, doing quality work, and also being able to improve project in very little amount of time with the knowledge that they have. So when we look at the future of renewable energy, therefore means that it's one that we need to pay attention to. Also sustainable energy. I know that we're having conversations around, is there a difference between renewable energy and sustainable energy? Yes. Renewable energy is sustainable. Sustainable energy is not always renewable. I think that's one of the simplest way to put it. So renewable energy is sustainable energy, but sustainable energy is not always renewable. Take, for example, nuclear power. Nuclear is sustainable, but when you use a nuclear isotope, maybe you have maybe through nuclear fission, you break it down, then you release energy, you don't have it again. It does not replenish. But then, sun, maybe solar power now, it replenishes. Please let me know, is there a way we can communicate in the chat if that simplifies things in any way?
Yes, that is very open, so you can engage the audience. It's quite an engaging class.
Right. So please let me know if you understand, or you could just give some reactions, a down thumb if you don't get it, and this if you get it. That's basically one of the major differences, and one of the easier ways to explain it. So I'll be looking at what's happening currently in the world, and also how that this will impact myself and you. It possibly would impact our career, and also I would also be sharing along the way places that you could want to look into the future. One of the things people ask me is, how did you know that hydrogen was going to become a thing? I did not know. I did not know hydrogen was going to become a thing, because I started working on hydrogen in 2021, where hydrogen was just a global not thing. But then in fact, I went on a fellowship in Germany in 2022, and my work was focused on hydrogen. My PhD, I mean, as was said, is focused on hydrogen. So that work, that, track record of working on hydrogen for a couple of years, is one of the reasons that got me funding for my PhD. So I think that we'd also be discussing as to areas you might want to focus on, not anything on the slide, but a couple of things and experiences, looking into the future, what I think will be happening based on the things that are happening now. Right, so sustainable and renewable energy are very important for mitigating the effect of climate change. I believe everyone here understands what climate change is, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and also ensuring energy security. So why and how does say maybe sustainable and renewable energy impact energy security? I'm going to tell you this. I've said this in a couple of places I've spoken, and I'm going to tell you this. The energy transition is a geopolitical war. If you're working in this space, you have to think of it like that. The energy transition is a geopolitical war. Everybody is out to protect their economy. So it means that as Africans, wherever you are, or maybe people from the developing economies, you have to think about the energy transition like that. So it therefore means that you must not allow yourself to be pushed to make decisions that are irrational, and you must think about how the long-term benefit of your decisions today would be, and what are the implications, maybe negative implications of possible decisions, and even investments that you're making today would be for you. Because when you look at it here, I'm going to share an example of something that happened in 2020. 2020 was COVID year. Yeah, a lot happened. So in 2020, before 2020, a lot of Western nations, Europe-based countries, were saying you should not use coal, you should not use gas, you should not use dirty fuels, as they put it, which I agree. I agree that you should not use those things. But when COVID broke out and there was a challenge, we saw that, well, it affected them a bit. What they did was they tried to ramp up renewable energy, especially the likes of Germany. Then something happened. Germany then said, based on the improvement that they had, Germany now said, we are going to. So before that time, 55% of energy consumption in Germany came from gas. So they said, we are going to reduce it. We are not going to use that 55. That's where the phrase, for anyone that probably has read, Fit for 55 came up. That's where they decided. So they made a plan that they were going to drastically reduce and, not to use gas again. Mind you, majority of German gas was coming from Russia. Then the Russian-Ukraine war broke out. And then things became a bit messy. And Russia said, nope, if you're not going to buy our gas in rubles, we're not selling gas to you. And Germany said, well, we do not support your war and we do not want your gas. So Russia said, okay, no problem. Then 3-4 months later, it started affecting the German economy. That decision started affecting the German economy. And winter was coming. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Winter can actually kill. I mean, if you have been in Europe, probably your first time, you could tell that sometimes if you don't have adequate eating, you can actually die. I mean, it could lead to, severe sicknesses like asthma and other, maybe anemia and all other sicknesses. And then if you are not properly attended to on time, you could die. So Germany said, we need to solve our problem. And in last year, Germany approached Argentina for gas. In fact, they put some money to get gas from Argentina, which then tells you, at the baseline of saying we want to transition, at the baseline of saying we need to improve our economy using renewables, think about your economy first. So no matter what anybody says, one of the ways, I'm for energy transition. I work in the energy transition space. But the way I think about it is, how does it affect us now? How will it affect us in the next 5 years? How will it affect us in the next 10 years and 20 and 30 and 40 years? So it means that the decisions that we take today affect us. we now begin to look at it. How then can we, make ourselves non-reliant? Which I will go back to the case of Germany again, non-reliant on other countries. What Germany did was actually to increase their energy security. They started investing a lot into renewables. In fact, currently, 73% of German energy is from renewables, which shows you that they have gone a long way, in building their energy security. What that means is that they don't have to rely on other nations. They make their wind turbines, they make their solar panels, they generate electricity, and they distribute it across their country, all within their country. That's one of the benefits of sustainable and renewable energy. So when you begin to think about it, it then becomes important to think about it in a way that has economical thinking in it. I'm going to encourage anyone here, either you are an engineer or you are in the finance space, whatever you do, as long as you are working in the energy sector and you want to grow fast, there are two kinds of knowledge you need to pick up: finance and economics. No matter what you do, don't say, I'm just, no, even if you are that guy that is behind solar panels, pick up knowledge on finance, energy finance, and pick up knowledge on energy economics. Very key for your career. At least it has helped me. I took some courses on energy economics. In fact, my master's was on renewable energy economics. My PhD is focused on technology economics. So I'm doing a techno-economic analysis even as part of my PhD. And I study physics, and technology economics and policy. I took a course from Florence School of Regulation on regulation of power sector. That's on the policy aspect. So when you begin to think about this, and I want to believe that all of this, even we coming here today, is at the end of it all, is for us to become better people in the energy sector, and also to be able to contribute in a way that improves Africa and also improves our own career. I see that Emmanuel has his hand raised. If you can speak, if you can unmute your mic, please go ahead.
Mr. Yodiji, of course, I know you still have a bit of slides to do. There's going to be question and answers after your presentation. So if they can just do well to hold on to their questions, I think by the time you're done, we'll be able to explicitly, take questions. Everyone will be fine.
All right, thank you. If you feel you possibly could forget your questions, please drop them in the chat box. All right, so current energy landscape. There was a report by McKinsey, and that shows that fossil fuels, actually, the demand for fossil fuels peaked. What that means is that when the demand peaks, it means that the demand can no longer be higher than that in our lifetime. So it means that the only possibility is that demand will continue to now drop. That's what it means. So it then now shows us that natural gas and oil will remain a core part of the energy mix for decades. I can tell you this for free. In fact, scenario analysis have shown that until 2030, oil will be a major part of the African economy. I've heard a lot of people say, oil is going to, we're not going to use oil for a while. That's not true. We're still going to use oil. So are people in the oil and gas space going to lose their jobs in the next couple of years? No, it's not going to happen. They're going to keep making money. They're still going to keep their jobs. Some of the things that we can make from crude oil, we have not found green ways to make them on a large scale. So it means that sometimes oil is still the best option. For example, in plastic production, you have to think about that. Also, maybe when you talk about crane lift, how do you power crane lift? Diesel is still the best that we have around for those ones. We need to think about, is oil just going to go extinct and we're not going to use it again? The energy transition is not like that. That's why you have to think about it in an holistic manner. So also the World Energy Outlook by IEA shows that there is going to be, or possibly we are facing an energy crisis. But you can look at why this is. there is an increase in population. There is high inflation globally. And then there is an increase in migration. So all of these things just contribute to, the greater demand of energy. And then also when you now look at the financing war, there is also a challenge when it comes to that. So there has also been volatility in energy prices. Also that has affected the supply chains across the entire value chain, actually. So when you look at trends in sustainable energy, I know I have limited time, so I will try to rush up some sort of. When you look at trends in renewable energy, so you see that there is an increase in the number of renewables. A lot of capacity is being added in terms of renewables globally on the side of wind, and also solar. So a lot is being developed. In fact, I think 2022 was 2023 was called year of solar. A lot of solar renewable energy capacity was added than was, in 1 year, more renewable energy capacity was added than the world saw in the last 5 years before that time. So it just shows you that there is a lot, and there are reasons to this, which I will touch. Reasons include, the rapidly decreasing price of solar panels, and also some materials for renewable energy installations. Also, there have been technological advancement, which this technological advancement also ties in with this, making them more efficient. We have solar panels that are about 69% efficient now. It used to be very lower than that. But now, 69% efficiency means that it can trap in 69% of the energy that touches to solar panels, which means it can produce more electricity over the same period of time. Also, there has been an increase in the amount of investment in clean energy. The case for this has been tied to several things, more advancement in research, more advancement in technology, like I mentioned. Also, the need to improve energy access across nations of the world, the need to transition from dirty energy to clean energy. So several things have impacted this investment, and investors are beginning to see that the energy space. In fact, for anyone that is probably interested in investment, I am, probably in terms of portfolio investment. I'll tell you this for free also. There are key areas that you might want to look at into the next decades: agriculture, infrastructure, and energy. Those are bankable places you can put your money. I mean, you also have to be careful and think about how to go about your investment. But infrastructure is very key. It's in fact, it has been said, there was a scenario analysis conducted by a company in Germany called Agora Energiewende, that from the year 2030 forward, Africa would massively begin. It will be possibly the year 2030 forward would be called the maybe Africa industrialization era. So Africa will massively begin to look into industrialization. Lots of industries will spring up. Lots of infrastructures will be built. Lots of investment also will be going into things like that. Also, agriculture will take a new turn in Africa. Also, there's also a report you might want to look at that by Africa Climate Foundation, that they did a study on investment pointers in Africa. And I think those were also some of the things that they mentioned. Globally, the electric vehicle market is also expanding. A lot of electric vehicles are being made. I mean, anyone in Africa knows that there are more even electric vehicle companies, those possibly for 2 and 3 wheelers, more of those in Africa. Lots of electric vehicles are being sold in the world. Also, a lot of government initiatives, a lot of governments now have their own energy transition plan. Some have special policies made for special project financing. So a lot of things are going on in the world, several collaboration across countries. Take for example, is it Morocco? Some days ago, Morocco partnered with a Chinese company that will be investing, I think, about $33 million into battery production. So, a lot of things are happening globally. And therefore, it's important that we look at what are the places for us to look into. So, yeah, types of renewable energy. I think I've touched on a bit of this. Biomass energy is energy derived from plants, let me put it like that, plants, but not cutting trees, but generally plants. And yeah, hydrogen. Anyone that should you be interested more in hydrogen, just a quick look through my profile on LinkedIn. I think you'll be able to find enough on hydrogen and ammonia. Hydrogen there are several types of hydrogen. There's also green biomass. There's also dirty biomass. So you want to think about that also. So there are a lot of types of hydrogen, green hydrogen. There's turquoise, there's white, and then there is geologic hydrogen, which is one of the best discoveries. Also hydroelectric, that's hydro power, wind energy from wind, solar energy from the sun, geothermal from heat under the ground. So there are several types of renewable energy, and all of these have a way of contributing to our energy source and also to our community, helping us to advance towards a climate resilient future. Now, advantages of renewable energy, it has its environmental advantages, the economic benefits, the health benefits. The economic benefits could be in terms of job creation, also help us to keep our jobs, also help us to protect our economy, like I mentioned, in terms of energy security. Energy security is actually sort of economic security, because whatever affects your energy supply would affect your economy. When there is no energy supply, people will not be able to do their jobs the way they should be able to do their jobs. People will not be able to move around the way they want to move around, and manufacturing and production would be reduced. It also has health benefits in terms of cleaning and water. So the energy security aspect, I've spoken about that, and also environmental benefits. So I'll move on. I'll be sharing my slide with you guys if you want interested. Now, there are challenges in transitioning to renewable energy. I have economic and financial hurdles. One of those is high initial cost of implementing clean energy projects. At least I can take an example of Nigeria. To install, I think, is it a 5 kilowatt peak solar home system now? Possibly we need about 800,000 naira. That's not something an average salary earner in Nigeria would want to invest in at once. So when you think about that, the initial cost, but there are policies that can also help, reduce the tension regarding some of these challenges. Also, market competitiveness. When you begin to think about it, when you look at the cost, okay, does it have the capacity to compete in the market with other forms of energy? Take, for example, petrol or diesel. So those are things you need to think about. Infrastructural barriers. There's a lot of infrastructural growth that still needs to come into play for renewable energy. Infrastructure in terms of even the production infrastructure, in terms of the consumption infrastructure, storage, and also durability. Take, for example, one of the most expensive forms of storage is hydrogen storage. It's very expensive, massively expensive. There's a lot of research going on in that. Also, grid integration. Grid integration, it's not the expensiveness that comes into grid integration, it's actually the technical capacity. One of the countries that has been able to actively and do that well in terms of integration of renewable energy into their grid is Germany. They have been able to do that, and close to them. They are one of the best to learn from when it comes to integrating renewable energy into the grid. Also, when you look at the policy landscape, so the lack of consistent policies, the way, especially when it comes to Africa and also some developing economies, you see that maybe after a couple of years, a government comes in, they make their own policy, and then another government comes in after a couple of years, and then they say, whoop, we'll not be using that. We want to create our own strategic roadmap. That in itself has a way of affecting things. It has a way of affecting and building the trust of investors. Would investors trust us enough that their investment will be protected if our policies are not consistent? Would they even want to put money into something they are not sure of? Is the policy landscape in one country also the same as the policy landscape in another country? Things like that. A lot of things still needs to be looked into, because there is no global policy system for the establishment of renewable energy projects in the world. There is none. Why? Because the landscape is different from place to place. What you need to consider in Nigeria is possibly different from what you need to consider maybe in South Africa. What you need to consider in South Africa is different from what you need to consider in a place like maybe Netherlands. So you need to think about those things and also how to regulate them. Take, for example, one of the most complex regulatory environments that I've seen in the world is in Nigeria. A lot of regulators, a lot of organizations just regulating one thing or the other. You need to look at, so who is in charge? Who do I answer to? Who are we supposed to meet for this and that? Some are clear, some are not, and that also poses a challenge. Also, the social and political factors, like public acceptance. Public acceptance is a big deal. People think, the public is always willing and open to clean energy. That's not true. Sometimes the public will just say, just give us our oil and gas. Let's just keep on using what we are using. It's technology that we're not sure of. I mean, talk about hydrogen. Talk about hydrogen. How many people understand even hydrogen? The fact is that if you were in an open space, right? If you were walking on your street, hydrogen actually can be burning in the middle of the road and nobody will see it. It's actually it's a flame that you don't see the flame. So just think about that, how people would react when they hear things like that. But there is a lot of trainings that still done. I was speaking somewhere and I was sharing with them how that globally, I think there are less than 1 million hydrogen safety engineers in the world. So that begins to show you that all of these are opportunities. So all of these things that I've said could be one thing or the other that you choose to focus your career on, because these gaps are opportunities. The initial cost, I'll think about it. What can we do to reduce the initial cost? How can we support organizations, to edge their risk? Those are things that you might want to think about. I've mentioned the case of hydrogen. There is a need for a lot more hydrogen engineers in the world. We need more people to understand how hydrogen works. Also the political will also, so you can work in the policy space, supporting policy implementation, just pushing policies, conducting a lot of research, a lot of stakeholder engagement. I work in this space, so that's possibly my day-to-day activity. Some days you are just building PowerPoint slides. That's not one of the fun things to do. Getting the information that you need, doing some market surveys and a lot of that. Also international cooperation, in terms of investment, in terms of collaboration, sharing ideas and knowledge, funding from external funders, getting funding from them. Also technology transfer. The technology transfer is a big case globally. A lot of promises made, but not so much has been done. So technology transfer is actually not in terms of technology as in technology. It's actually in terms of funding for development of technology and also expertise from developed world to developing economies. So yeah, these are some of the challenges that is actually still being experienced in the transition to energy. So this is a stat from Statista showing what the energy landscape would possibly look like going into the next 20, 30 years. So we see that coal is set to remain the same. Now, I understand people think that coal is a bad thing. I'm going to tell you something. Use what you have first. In that process, plan and choose to transit. Like I said, it's a geopolitical war, and you have to be smart in your decisions. So coal is set to remain the same. Renewables are expected to increase gradually. Natural gas also is meant to remain the same, but this also shows you that this and this are not going anywhere. Coal and natural gas are not going anywhere. Then have nuclear. Nuclear is there's a challenge with nuclear, usually on the safety aspect. But looking into the future, there is a lot that can still be done. I think there is now a new technology. Instead of using nuclear fission, which is the separation, it uses nuclear fusion, which is the combination of radioatomic isotope. So it just shows you how that the energy sector is expected to, grow into the coming years. There is a lot that is expected to happen into the coming years. So I decided to, someone said we're hoping that I will speak on transport. I decided to speak on two areas on where to watch for. So one of them is transport, the other one is solar, which I will be. So since 2022, the world has actually experienced that. 2019 actually, there has been a massive increase in the amount of electric vehicles sold, and it is expected that there will be 31.1 million electric vehicles on our streets globally in the world by 2030. Now, people think that what is the challenge in supplying electric vehicles? A lot. Producing the batteries. Producing the batteries means mining some of the minerals needed to produce the batteries. And that in itself has supply chains considerations that you need to think about. And then when you begin to think about that, you also have to look at the social aspect because, I mean, we have seen that a lot of illegal mining happen across the world, especially in Africa, and those need to be done properly, else it will not be helping the world in the long run. We'll be making something bad on one end and making it better on the other hand. There will be more poor people where we have maybe clean electricity. The poor people that are mining those things will possibly also contact diseases like cancer from those illegal mining, because illegal mining means improper mining. It will not be done properly. There's no necessary machinery. So you need to think about, these are a lot of things. And that in itself, that challenge in itself is an opportunity for a business endeavor. So there is expected that electric vehicle sales will actually increase going into the coming years, and that by 2030, that electric cars will make 58% of new passenger cars sold globally. I'm going to tell you something about this stat. This stat is actually very important for Africans. Mr. Mayowa, just for me to confirm, are people on this call, are they Africans?
Yes, they are widely spread across Africa, about some 36 countries.
All right, but they are all Africans, yeah?
Yes, all Africans.
All right, thank you. Now, the reason I wanted to say this is because it's important that Africans begin to think about how to grow their own electric vehicle infrastructure. And I'm going to tell you why. Most of the places most of the cars we use in Africa are imported. Internal combustion engine cars. They got some called, someone said it's ICE, but I've never called it that. I don't think. Doesn't make sense to my ear. But internal combustion engine cars, ICEs. Most of those vehicles are imported. Now, most of those countries where those vehicles are imported from, their government are already saying by 2030 or 2035, you should stop making internal combustion vehicles. What does that tell you? It means that when those companies stop making internal combustion engine vehicles and they start making electric vehicles, if we do not have the necessary infrastructure, what are we going to be using? Because if you don't have charging stations across your street, would you guys import electric vehicles, or are we going to start planning by then? So, which makes it important that we start looking into establishing those infrastructures, stimulating the policies, aggravating towards the finance that will be able to position us to grow our economy. We don't have to do everything last. We don't have to be the last ones to do everything. We can actually take the lead when it comes to electric vehicle market. Why? Because we have most of the minerals that are needed in the electric vehicle market. I wrote a paper. If you need it, I can send it to Mr. Mayowa to share it with you on Africa's critical minerals and the global EV market. So I wrote on how Africa actually has a major place in the global EV market if only we can maximize our minerals. There is a lot that can still be done in terms of battery technology. It's expected to increase the range and decrease. And people say that, oh, there is a range anxiety. But there is a report, I can also send it to Mr. Mayowa, that was done by ICCT, International Council of Clean Transportation. I read them a lot because my PhD is focused on a lot of the things that they do. And they did a research, and the research shows that actually the current range of most electric vehicles are enough for most people. Because take, for example, you have a vehicle, an electric vehicle that has 300-kilometer range. You most likely would charge your vehicle maybe once or twice per month. That's enough. People think that, the range is not enough. That's not true. If you are using it within your country, people now say, okay, what if we want to travel to another place? That's okay, take public transport. But I don't want to take public transport. Why? Why do we think? And I know that there is this thinking, especially in Africa, that first you must build your own house the way you want to build it. That's fine. If you have the money. I'm not against anybody building your own. Then you must buy your own car, the type that you want, and use your car everywhere you go. Why? There is nothing wrong with public transport. There is absolutely nothing wrong. If it's properly managed and well organized, there is. I was telling someone that if I had 1 billion euros today, I know where to invest it. The person said, where? I said, I'll tell you. I don't have it, so it's not a novel idea. Possibly a lot of people have thought about it. It's in Lagos State in Nigeria, and Benin Republic, Cotonou. There is a lot of police checkpoints. I think now we can say, okay, maybe it's because of insecurity. So if I had that money, what will I do? I will make available a railway connecting both regions and then put a train on it. And for every trip, you're going to be paying me maybe 50,000 naira. I don't know how much that is. Okay, so maybe that's about $50. And for every trip, you're going to be paying me $50. And instead of spending maybe 2 or 3 hours on the road, I know that sometimes the road is bad. You're going to be spending possibly maybe 30 minutes, and you pay me my money, right? So, and maybe it's a train that maybe operates on nitrogen. And protecting the environment, and protecting people, and protecting the nation, and protecting the economy. So there is a lot that can be done. When you see that those gaps, just think about them. So electric vehicles do not have, back to what I was saying, do not have bad range as it were. And also we are also seeing that the price of lithium-ion batteries are also dropping. I think I faintly mentioned that. In fact, there was a research that was conducted by TU Berlin, Technical University of Berlin, and they show that in the next 10 years, scratch that, in the next 5 years, it is very possible, now in Europe, so I'm not focused on Africa for now, but maybe say globally, it is very possible that solar panels will be free. It is very possible. Based on the way the cost is declining, that solar panels will be free and batteries will be very cheap. I mean, look at lithium-ion batteries. Now, I know that is not usually the case in many African economies. Why? We have our FX issues, we have the supply chain issues. Those batteries are not made locally. But that also tells us another thing. Why can't we make those batteries in our countries? So there are opportunities for us that we can actually maximize. Why can't we go and make the electric vehicles in our countries? Okay, let's say we're not making our countries. Okay, the whole of West Africa come together and have a production plant that supplies all your battery needs and electric vehicle needs. The whole of Southern Africa come together and do the same. The whole of Eastern Africa come together and do the same. The whole of Northern Africa come together and do the same. And let these regional plants share information among themselves based on advances in research and everything. It is one of the reasons I am not so much convinced about the work the African Union is doing. I know that they have a lot on their hands, but I think that there is much more that can be done in Africa. Also, in terms of aviation, when we look at the electric aircraft, there is also advancements towards making an electric aircraft. The challenge with that is the weight of batteries. But another option is hydrogen, and potentially, and the first hydrogen flight has been conducted. Actually, I think it happened in the US. It was a flight, but it was a one-way flight. Just so we know, it was a one-way flight, and it was an intercity flight about 1 hour from each other, and it was a successful one. So it means that future of aviation is that we'll have flight. By the way, I think I need to mention it. The use of hydrogen can also be, especially in transport, can also be classified under electric vehicles. So you have something like fuel cell electric vehicles. Just so I clarify that, because not usually thought of like that. So urban air mobility. So there is also a market for urban air mobility, including air taxis. I mean, you'll see flying cars very soon. I'm not giving you jokes. You'll see flying cars very soon. Electric ones, and there is a lot that will be coming up in the coming years. So you can begin to look at each of these and look at ways that you want to fit yourself into the sector, what you want to do, what you want to focus on in the future. All right, so another place to focus on is solar. So there is also a growth in solar capacity. We saw that there is, as of 2020, the global solar capacity was actually 707 gigawatts, and it's expected to reach 3,000 gigawatts by 2030. That already shows you the kind of investment that's going into solar. So I see a lot of people come into the space and they say, I want to go for something novel. No, we all need solar. We need solar. In fact, last week Saturday, Friday, I was speaking about a place. I was speaking at a place. It was on Twitter, on the Twitter space. I was speaking on the electricity, the power sector in Nigeria. And despite everything that I knew, and everybody was applauding me, told me that I need to groom myself more when it comes to the electricity market and solar space. Um, it's important. It's important. And we also look at how the expansion in the solar market, because all of these things are intertwined and they have a way of affecting one another in the coming future. Okay, track. So also cost reductions. There is also some sort of cost reductions which I've mentioned in terms of solar panels. The price is gradually reducing. I mean, look at this. Look at this. It shows you how the price can be going into the nearest future. The economies of scale is also one thing that the world is benefiting from. Economies of scale just means when you produce something in bulk, it sort of reduces the cost price, and also that impacts on the sales price. So technological advancement. So there is a lot of efficiency. I think I've mentioned some of these things. Efficiency in solar panels. Also the storage. There is a lot of battery storage inventions and innovations that is going on in the world, and we expect that will become better in the coming future. So the future of the renewable energy space is very bright. There is a lot that we can look into and can be. So in the future outlook, take for example in the United States, and why I'm taking the United States is because the United States is one of the companies that is leading when it comes to battery technology and solar energy. So the Energy Information Administration. So while you have IEA, which is International Energy Agency, the US has its own Energy Information Administration, and they are expecting that the deployment of renewables would reach about 42 gigawatts in 2024, just for the country alone. So it already shows how that globally there is an increase. This, you can take a cue from this. Globally, there's an increase. Also, Irina, I said that there will be more jobs going into the coming years in the renewable energy space. Like I said, does that necessarily mean that there will be a loss of jobs in the oil and gas sector? No. But will there be a loss of jobs? Yes. But does it mean that a lot of people, everybody will lose their jobs? No. But if I have if I have the opportunity to advise people in the oil and gas sector, I will tell them, take up some knowledge of renewables. Take some, just anyone, just take one and grow yourself. That's how you can preserve your relevance. So the future also holds promises for investment, a lot of policies, like I've mentioned, and also technological advancement. A lot is happening in the world. Several changes and developments are going on, and that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening to me. I would be happy to take your questions and don't take suggestions and corrections where they may be. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji Stephen. I don't know. I see we've been enjoying the session. I see the interactions going on the chat. And yes, I love the area that it was not just like business as usual, much beyond you dishing out the knowledge. I love the aspect that you were able to open our participants' eyes to areas of businesses and areas of opportunity as it regards the future of renewable energy. So I think now it will be good that we just take questions. If you have people with questions on the call, this is when you want. Oh, I see your hand is raised already. Okay, Chuka, you can unmute your mic and speak now. Let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji. That was a very wonderful presentation. Please, I would like you to speak briefly on how renewable energy would affect the agricultural industry, because in Nigeria, I know that 57% of the average family cost is in food. So I would like to know how renewable energy can also attribute into the agriculture and food industry. Thank you.
All right, so thank you for your question, and also thank you for asking this question. There is something called productive use of energy, or it's one of the major aspects of the Nigeria electrification project. By the way, for anyone working in Nigeria off-grid energy space, there is a project coming up. It's called the DARES project. It's actually been funded by the World Bank and GIAP. It's a big project. In fact, bigger than the Nigerian electrification project. And it has a lot of distributed renewable energy aspects to it. That's just a back information. There is information on it online, so you might want to read on it, but it's not so heavy because the finalities are just being cleaned up. Now, to speak to your question, it affects agriculture. In fact, it affects agriculture the most, especially for developing economies. One of the ways is through our farming systems. One of renewable energy can be a source of off-grid energy for irrigation. It can be a source of off-grid energy for even some new harvesting tools. Also storage energy to provide energy for our storage solutions. So in fact, when I was in Clean Technology Hub, I used to work at a company called Clean Technology Hub in Nigeria. We did a project for Deloitte, and it was found out that I think about 60% of food produced in Nigeria are lost because of lack of cold storage. That begins to show you the importance of good storage solutions. And one of the ways that you can provide energy for cold storage is through these off-grid energy solutions. So renewable energy provides that option. Also, in Kenya is actually working on hydrogen. One of the major ingredients of Kenya nitrogen strategy is the use of hydrogen to preserve, and I'm going to explain, preserve their tea, because Kenyan tea covers 50% of tea demand in Europe, just one country. their tea covers, I think, 50% of of tea demand in Europe. So they have heavy shipping of tea from Nairobi, wherever that is, maybe Mombasa, to Europe, especially I think Germany. And so while that is being shipped, they are looking at how they can use hydrogen. Now, this information I'm giving you is an information that was gleaned in conversation with um, the staff of GIZ in Germany. So they are looking at how they can use hydrogen to power the ship that will be transporting the tea, and also to provide energy for the cooling system that would be containing the tea as it's been transported to preserve it. So it has a whole lot of, combination and intersection with it. I don't know if I answered your question. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, yes, he said thank you so much. I think his question has been answered. And maybe just to add to it, I think the perspective of clean energy adoption in agriculture is something to really talk about, because in recent time, I'm working on a project in Lagos State, and it's something on the air quality in Lagos. So in our research, we understood that sometimes the air pollution we talk about is a function of agricultural activities. And one of the key areas that we realized was in the aspect of, you know, basically those people that does things with smoking. So, in trying to dry your products, especially those people that does things with fish or even abattoir activities, these are areas where we have more emissions come from. So in that, while I was making some research, I met some guy, and what have they done? What they did was that they have this solar powered facility, which allows you to, bring in any items to dry. And instead of, using the normal coal and all those energy that are not clean enough for such activities as drying the fish or smoking the fishes. So this facility now is solar powered. So, it dries your fish, it dries your pepper, it dries even fruit for you without any emission, really. So, and I think that is a good tech aspect of considering the impact of energy use when it comes to agricultural perspective of sustainable energy. So I think much more than ever before, we also need to start looking at, okay, things that we've been doing in some particular ways, what other methods can we adopt these days to do them differently? And I see many a times we see new products coming into the market. I think one of it is the Eco Tutu project by, I think, YZN and the local government in Lagos State. So all these things are, opportunities to cut down on, the use of fossil fuel, which in turn emits carbon in urban spaces. So I see we have some other questions already. Let me clear those persons who have their hands raised. Let's take Mola Oluwakiton now. I see questions are already in the Q&A section, but let's have Mola Oluwakiton and Aminu. After that, we'll go into the Q&A. So yeah, Mola Oluwakiton, you can speak now.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ayodele. It was really a pleasure peeping into the future of sustainable in Africa. Sometimes my questions are already in the Q&A, but let me just read it because sometimes I never get to hear my questions sometimes. So how do we get the required training for installing the EV chargers? Like you've spoken a lot, and I think where my interest naturally has always been in this EV installation. And also for now, production and manufacturing requires large scale. So do you advise also importing EV chargers now? And how does one get trained? for all of that. Thank you.
All right. So I'm starting an e-mobility fellowship soon. That will be part of our focus. We have trainers on the ground. But one of the things we want to do post, the online engagement is to give people opportunity to see how some of these things are done in person. So although not everyone on that training will possibly be taken on that trip, but also would have people who do this on a day-to-day basis, share some videos and also to explain how it's done. Post that engagement, we'll also be looking at how we can fix people to do a couple of internships based on their areas of interest. But I can tell you that there are already people that are doing this in Africa. And one easy way to do that is to reach out to them and connect with them, maybe volunteer as an intern or even be a paid internship. So yeah, that's it. Best way to learn is to learn by doing. Hello? Hello? All right. So I guess there is someone else that was expected to ask that question. Hello? Mr. Mayo, are you there? Okay, so I see a question that says most times production and manufacturing requires large scale. So do we encourage importing? Yes, you can import. There is something they say in Yoruba that is from beat that dance begins. So you want to take it step by step. So first get yourself trained. So I would say that if you have the opportunity to go maybe outside Africa to get some trainings, by all means take those trainings. If not, you could look around for where you could take some of those trainings also. Should you import the chargers? Until you know how to make the chargers, you would have to import, yeah? So I would say import. But then we cannot stop at importing. Importing is not alone is not what we want. Some of these projects will be projects that will be established collaboratively with the government. See, I'm going to tell you something. One of the things you need to do is find an idea and look for funds for it. When you have your idea solid, you have a plan solid, you are more likely to get funds. When you have funds, you are more likely to find government partnership and collaboration. When you have that, you can employ people from anywhere in the world to train people wherever you want them to be trained. So, Mr. Mayo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here already. And I think, that was a beautiful answer to that question. I see we still have more hands. I see Leonard and up. So let's take Leonard now. Yes, Leonard, you can ask your question now.
Okay, sir. Can you hear me clear?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, Leonard.
Okay, sir. So I have two questions and also an appeal to make again. Question number one is with respect to transportation when it comes to electric cars that we are expecting in few years in our own part of the continent, since fully we are not in it in Africa yet. So now in these electric cars, you made mention of maybe when you drive for some certain distance, then there should be a facility where you charge your battery when it runs down. Or is there no way that this car can be produced that it can also automatically charge the battery? That is question one. Then question two has to do with government policy when it comes to our own continent and most especially in Nigeria, because I'm calling from Nigeria. I'm in Nigeria, I'm not the Kulina, I'm in Plateau State. Now, the issue of policies from assorting when it comes to successive regimes in terms of change of governance. Take, for instance, in Nigeria now we have a lot of minerals and mostly Africans. Okay. Can you hear me, Claire?
Yes.
Okay. Most especially in Nigeria now we have mineral deposit. Take, for instance, petroleum. And one fragment of this petroleum now is petrol, which is vastly used by the population of the country. We have refineries in the country, and these refineries are not producing oil. We sell out crude oil, and then we buy in refined product from the outside world based on issue of policy. Now, how specific and sure are we that this policy some are certain may not so in the near future, when Africans are driving towards renewable and sustainable energy, affect it? That is question two. Then the appeal I want to make to both the organizers and the co-host is that these materials are very rich, as I said earlier, and it is important, and it will help the participant if we can be helped with these materials in our email. Thank you, sirs.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Leonard. Okay, so frankly, for your first question, there is already a type of electric vehicle. They are hybrid electric vehicles. So hybrid electric vehicles usually they use petrol and they use battery. So the way it works is that when you're using the petrol is supplying electrical charges that are also charging your batteries. But if you're asking if there is a vehicle that can just use maybe mechanical movement of parts to charge itself, it doesn't work that way. That's not how vehicles are. There is a need for at least source of electricity. So that source of electricity would have to need some sort of fuel. That fuel could now be maybe come from electrical charges stored up or anything, but you need some sort of power source. That's it. In terms of Nigeria, first off, I am not yet the minister for power. Hopefully one day I am. There is not so much I can say to the toppling of policies based on change of political regimes. But all I can say is, for us to have this, we need strong institutions that are stronger than offices. If you understand what I'm saying,
Yes.
that is, to have an institution that is stronger than the president, is stronger than individuals. So if individuals move, if individuals die, if individuals go out of office or they go into extinction, those offices are still enforcing the policies. That's what we need to do. So another thing, another angle that now plays into this is the energy transition is not just a technical challenge. We need strong political and social institutions, which is why I like politics. I like politics. Maybe not in the sense that people understand it, but politics is where the decision is made, and you need to have the best interest of your people at that. But then you must be very smart. The way you engage things. So we need to do that, and that also comes in. So we need to also work in collaboration with people on the governance aspect of things. Because when we have strong institutions, then we can begin to make sure that policies and strategies that have been laid down for our energy transition are not discarded because a particular government is no longer in power.
Yes, I think I love that answer. Love that answer. I think it is time for us to advocate continuity, especially when it comes to governance. It is quite disheartening that many a times, because of the way things are within the African space, there are many beautiful projects. In fact, multi-million projects, billion projects, even to say that the negligence from political issues has caused the masses to miss out on the benefits that such projects would have offered. I think as we go on in seeking the knowledge and to contribute to energy development within individual countries, we should also do well on the other side to advocate for political continuity. It doesn't matter whatever party it is that is leaving the governance seats. If a project is beautiful, they could just continue and sustain such projects. So I think we still have about 2 hands raised. Let's have Emmanuel Fakule. We can speak now.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Mr. Ayodeji Stephen, for your presentation. That was very, very insightful. I really appreciate your depth of knowledge about the renewable energy space. And just a quick one. At the early stage of your presentation, you mentioned some opportunities of learning. I just want to reconfirm if I got it well. Energy finance and energy economics. Am I right, please?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Secondly, when in your response to the first question about sustainability and renewable power in agriculture, you mentioned that there's a World Bank project coming up called Direct Project. I just want to be sure of the name. I didn't get the name quite well.
Not direct. I'm going to put it in the chat now.
Okay. And thirdly, I will appreciate if I could have your LinkedIn address.
I will put it on the chat also.
Okay. Cheers so much. I appreciate it. That's all for me.
All right. Thank you very much. I think the last hand we have here is from Kazim Adekoye. So, Mr. Kazim, you can unmute. Is Mr. Kazim there? Okay, if you don't have, I'm not too sure I can hear Mr. Kazim. All right. Yeah, let's see if we still have some more questions. Who's speaking? Let's see if we still have some more questions.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, yeah. Oh, Amina. Okay, please. Amina, we can't hear you quite well.
Okay.
Amina, you
everyone.
can use the chat.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
It's a little bad. Please, do type your question. Put your question in the chat.
Can you hear me, please? Are you with me now?
Sound. Can you speak again?
Oh,
Miss Amina,
I think
could you
it's the
please,
network.
Miss Amina, could you please put your question in the chat box?
All right. So Mr. Hayodeji, it has been such a good and a fantastic morning. I think that's about all the questions. Okay, I think there's someone with another question. The person said in a climate where our maintenance culture leaves much to the side, how do we work safely with hydrogen-based energy? And that's going to be the last question for this morning, Mr. Hayodeji.
Okay, so while I know that maintenance is a challenge, but you see, this project are very capital intensive project. So where maintenance is a problem, I think what we need to do is get capable hands in place, right? And you see, everything boils down to the rule of law. I did a bit of law in my master's, so I understand a couple of things. Everything boils down to the rule of law. So somebody stole your money. Somebody stole maybe say 300 billion, and you give the person a 10 million fine. That's rubbish. No? When you think about it, it actually doesn't make sense. But imagine that someone has been employed to work in a place, and the person steals our money, and we send the person to jail for like 10 years. The person that comes in will be very careful. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. So the person will be very careful about what they do in the office. So that's also now, translates into how people do their work. You are paid for it. You are paid. This is what you are paid to. Maybe a maintenance officer. This is what you are paid for. It's what you are paid to do. It then means that if there is a lapse, we sack the person. There is no place for give me, sir. We sack the person and bring in capable hands. It's important that we put in capable hands and make sure that those things are done. And then there is something called monitoring, evaluation, and learning, that there is regular checks on in those terms, in terms of, okay, how is our project doing? Do we have maintenance that we need to do? What are we learning from the way we are handling our processes? When we constantly do that, then we'll be able to better manage our projects. Because like I mentioned, those projects are very capital intensive, and you cannot afford to let your money go down the drain. That's what I think. So the issue is not a technical solution. It's actually a management problem and solution that needs to provide.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji. And I see what is going on in the chat. People are already saying great presentation. Would love to have you again. I think everyone enjoyed the presentation. And yes, it is one good thing when you have facilitators who are industry dons and are very knowledgeable in the perspective of the topic being taken. So on behalf of the leadership of WDF Africa, we would like to say a big thank to you, Mr. Ayodeji Stephen. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your commitment to the good work that you're doing. We are also, saying thanks to you for making out this time for this section. I understand that even with a little thing that we have there with the timing and the date, you were still kind enough to be able to fix this section with us. We really appreciate you. And I'm sure that even the participants, they want in their own way to show their appreciation to you. So if it is by your reactions or by your words in the chat, I think it is good that we all appreciate our facilitator for this morning for the job well done. And I leave it to you now. Maybe in 1 minute, let's appreciate our facilitator this morning. Yeah, I see it going on. Olua Kiton, that's a good one. Gloria, yes, that was good. Yeah, that's a good one. So if you go through the chat, you would see already that even our audience, we appreciate the time that you have spent with us. And yes, I understand that you have some other engagements to fall into, because we still have about some other 10-15 minutes with the participant on the section for some other further information. But if you wish to stay with us until the very end, of course, we are honored to have you with us. But if your other engagements would not allow you, this is the time where we want to say a very kind and pleasant thanks to you for your time this morning. And definitely, we hope, just like as the audience have asked, we hope to have you again. And I want to believe that when we knock on your door, it will always be open to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, it's always a privilege for me to speak to people. I'm a young person. I'm also growing, trying to grow and get better in this space. But the privilege to share the little things I know, I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to further engagement when the opportunity presents itself. Thank you so much, everyone. I would have to go now because I have a couple of deliverables and projects that I'm to monitor this morning. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and you do have a nice day, Mr. Steven.
And you too.
All right. Yeah. I know it has been such a morning for each and every one of us. I don't know if there's anyone that is not on this section. Definitely that person is missing on something. And this is the second workshop of the Sustainable Energy Accelerator. And definitely we still have some more to go. However, there are some key information that must be shared with each and every one of us. While this program has been sectioned in phases, it is important and it delights us to have each and every one of you on this program cross to the next phases of the program. We do not have any joy in leaving anyone behind. Of course, we are passionate and we continue to push for, leaving no one behind in all the things that we do. So we want to advise that for the aspect of attendance on each and every of our section, if you check in the chat, you already see the link that has been shared with you. So what is expected of you is that we understand that these workshops are interesting and productive workshops. And we feel like beyond this room of about 50 participants, even you while learning now can make a positive impact on your followers, on the people around you within your community. And just a post can actually answer someone else's question, especially maybe your followers on social media and all. So what we want to enjoin you to do is that at the end of each and every workshop like this, you go on your social media, you post on the key learnings, the key takeaways from today's section. When you post this on your social media, the hashtag to use has been shared with you in the chats. If you so like, you can also do well to tag it to us at ADF Africa. So when you make such posts, the link that has been shared with you, you would copy the link to your post across social media. Of course, preferably Facebook and LinkedIn. So you copy the link and you attach it to the link that has been shared with you in the chat for your weekly submission. So what does it help us to do? This helps us to monitor and evaluate your progress and your understanding of each topic that has been taken on this program. And of course, because we are intentional about what you are going to learn, and that by the end of this training series, that you come out to become experts within the energy sector. So we'll be evaluating your understanding by your posts across social media, and if there'll be need for us to have a recap or a retake of any particular section based on what your post says, of course, we would be able to make such arrangements. And also beyond that, I want to encourage us that learning is available to each and every one of us. Beyond all what we've learned on this section this morning, you can just go on the web yourself. There are many resources that are out there. And I think even on LinkedIn, when you follow experts, you would see what is the next line of technology and innovation within the energy space. I see a whole lot of innovations coming on almost every week. And also, when you follow us across our social media platforms, and follow the different spaces where we are enlisted, sometimes too we share some other posts that may interest you and that would do you well also. I also would want to inform you that the next workshop will be next Friday, same time as today. So please make sure to not miss it. We are still going to be having another fantastic Facilitator come on the program next week with another topic. Of course, I want you to anticipate another quality section as today's. So that is all we have from our end. And if you have any questions to ask, feel free to reach out to us. You can message us from our social media platform. And also, we'll be attaching some links to the next email that I'll be sending to you, which will help you to have a seamless connection to us in areas of questions. And also, for those of you that are asking about the slides, of course, we'll be happy to share the slides with you. However, if it is very urgent and you really need to treat some other matters within the slide, feel free to go to ADF Africa on YouTube, and the recording is live there always for your accessibility. So this is the area and the time when we want to end this section this morning. I think it has been some quality 2 hours spent with each and every one of us here this morning. But before we go, it interests me to just give the opportunity to just through people, who would like to, if there's something you'd like to say this morning, you want to share, I just want to give you an opportunity to say something. Anybody who wants that opportunity can raise their hand, and I'll give you the chance to do that now. Okay.
Hello, can I say something, please?
Oh, great.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I appreciate today's presentation, and I'm not trying to compare likes for likes or making comparison between facilitators, but I really appreciate the approach of Mr. Ayodeji in his presentation today, because he was able to infuse reality, that's what is obtainable on the field, to his presentation than just focusing on the materials. So I think, and because it got everyone engaged, and you could see the outpour of reactions and the followership he had with it presentation. So as a way of suggestion, if I will be glad, don't let me generalize, I will be glad that other facilitators could also infuse real life on-field experiences and shedding more light on what is obtainable in the real sector, not just basically policies, formulation, or ideas. I think this is just my feedback, but for all, I think Mr. Ayodeji's presentation was spot on, and I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you for your feedback. Of course, this will also help us in our arrangements so that when we understand the kind of audience we have, it will help us to make adequate preparation for you. All right, everybody. This is that time when I want to say thank you on behalf of the leadership of ADF Africa for a beautiful morning or afternoon or evening. And of course, learning never ends. So beyond this section, I want you to go out there to go and make some further researches, learn more, and definitely we are all going to see that change that we want within the energy space. So thank you for attending this session this morning. And of course, we'll be glad to have you again next week. Enjoy the rest of your day and a beautiful weekend to you all. See you again next week. Bye.